Brazil. At the moment I'm doing a scholarship at University of Essex in England. And today I want to share a part of our research in Brazil about the teacher's labor and education, trying to talk about innovation and artificial intelligence policies and questions. So our group is today here, Professor Adda and Professor Johnny and Professor Natalia. And we want to try to share with you about analysis about the two main documents, the National Digital Education Policy and the Brazilian Artificial Intelligence Strategy, and try to build some relationship between these two documents and the continual teacher training or continual teacher education and the national curriculum guidelines for initial education of teachers. We want to share in this moment that these two documents have inside of them different types of comprehension of innovation and the relation with technology. But these two different ways to have this comprehension are based on capitalism. So we want to share and try to talk about that today. The first point of this thing is to try to refresh or to reform these policies, have a relationship about that there are a lot of problems about education in Brazil or something like that. But unfortunately, all the arguments that they are using to change or to sustain these things is in truth just a new way to be capitalist. For example, part of these documents try to separate the initial education from the continuing education of teachers. And we understand that when it happens, it's a way to separate, to fragmentate these two processes that's a part of the continual process. And at the same time, this process of changing in the national curriculum for teachers' education happened in Brazil without adequate dialogue with the scientific community. And other problem, it happened during the coup. At the same time, we have a politician trying to be implemented. So let's understand what happened in Brazil in this moment of the history. We have a politician of education of teachers' education trying to be implemented. At the same time, we are trying to have a new politician without having a dialogue between the scientific community, the teachers, and a lot of the worker class. Other point to think about that is the way that this kind of politicians here is understanding the teacher's education and specifically about technology. So here we are trying to talk about the notion of competence. We are trying, more specifically, the development of digital teaching skills. In this way, they understand that the teachers have to know how to use this technology, although to understand how it is a human or a process and a result of human activity. If we understand just how to use, we cannot be able to understand how capitalism can use this kind of technology to expropriate our lives or to destroy the nature of the human activity, of the teacher's activity. In the same way, if it happened in the first level of teacher's education, it can happen too in the continuing education. So there is a citation from this document. The general teaching competence to understand, use, and create digital information and communication technologies in a critical, meaningful, reflective, and ethical way in various teaching practices. In other words, what they are saying to us is to use this kind of policies to have us understanding the technology enough to use that to build more surplus value. Not to understand that enough to change the reality. So that's a point about what they are using the meaning of understand in this kind of politics. Other documents make a process of accountability with teachers and have technology this way to change or to keep this movement of to track circles up. So, for example, we have to understand that this document we have a it's based in a comprehension that we are calling technocentrism. In this document, in these documents, for example, they do not understand in a dialectical approach between subject and object, or more specifically, between subject and technology. We are understanding our technocentrism, mechanical relationship between these two poles. For example, in some moments, these policies are saying, oh, teachers have to know what to do. It's a responsibility of the teachers decide what they will do with technology. In this approach, when we say like that, we are saying teachers can decide against all the capitalist context what they will do with the technology. We are calling this a kind of technocentrism. In the other phase of the same technocentrism, we are saying that the technology, with all the capabilities they have in themselves, they can change all that teachers work. So a thing can change a subject. We are reversing the relationship between creature and creator. So it's a thing we have to think about. Another point, we are inviting today we have to understand in a dialectical approach that we're calling a critical dialectic. And in this approach that we are constructing as a critical for this technocentrism, we are saying that it's important to understand that relationship between these two parts of the same moment, that the human activity. Technology is a human activity, it's that work. And we cannot be servants for this technology. We have to share this the human activity. And it's not possible just me as a teacher with the best intentions to do that. We have to change the system of human activity as a totality. The political, for example, of artificial intelligence in Brazil at this moment share the same basis. It is very important to us to think about that. For example, we have different kinds of approaches, but all of that in the National Brazilian AI Strategy have this same basis of to say, we have to use as a teacher this kind of technology. But we have to understand together with that technology is a commodity in the capitalism system. When we understand this as a commodity, we have to buy this thing, and we have to understand that's not just about the value of use, but it's about the value of change that we have between us. So, using the expression of digital inclusion, digital school education, they have together with that the digital training and specialization. It's important to pay attention of this kind of word. In some moments, they're using training, outdoor education. It's important to understand the difference between education and training. For example, in training, you know how to use, you know all the specifications of this kind of technology, you know how to use that system, you understand the platformization, you know how to put all the information about your classes. It's a training, it's just a way to stretch circle doors for you. We are inviting you today to understand more important to have a digital education. But at the same time, it's very strange for us in our group using this kind of adjective about digital. We have to have an education not just about this specifically kind of technology. Because technology, of course, we have technology now, but all kinds of societies have technology. So we are saying now that our society now is technological. We are saying that other isn't. Don't make sense. We have work and technology, it's a part of human nature. So we have to return the base of the materialism. Because of that, we're here deciding today. So, on the other point, it's about to have, to talk about this fetish about commodity. So we want to understand the beginning and the development of this kind of technology. When we not recognize in this actual form of technology as a same root that we have with all kinds of technologies, we are trying to talk about a kind of package. So we look for example, artificial intelligence and talking about self-development, or if it's the same thing of neutrality or technology and science, or science has to be used to make more development or something like that. But all these kinds are part of a technology. And again, we have to refer to critical dialectical approach. We are in a moment of surveillance capitalism. We have a process of organization of life, but all of that is a observation of the process of capitalism. So, although it looks like, oh, it's so new, it's the same way of a new particular expression, a new particular observation of capitalism. But typically, capitalism. And that's very important, we cannot forget. Now, walking for the end of this part, there is a way to use this kind of technology as a property of the capitalism, is to, in the face of the contact with this technology, we responsibilize the teachers, the families, and the students about the results, about the employability capacity, but it's a question about the amenity of the capitalist employers and to observe the adaptive workforce in society. So if you have now a lot of teachers losing this work, it's not because the teachers is not a good teachers. It's a question about capitalism and a problem in this moment of the human society. So, of course, there is other ways to construct in this moment. So in our group, CADJO, in Brazil, CADJO is it's an indigenous name for a kind of game that indigenous do with chord, and this mainly represents the relationship between technology and education for our group. So if we are talking about education of teachers, we have to be compromised a development in a big way, a development in a same way to appropriate from the human culture, appropriate the human property as a common, as a public, as a property, all the human activity, not just one that tell us how to use this technology. So to construct that needs our collective action. It needs us together as class, worker class, to understand what happened with